Hello guys, welcome back to the Coin Riches channel. Imagine holding a small, silver-toned piece of Scandinavian history in the palm of your hand, a relic from a time when the world was pivoting into a new decade. We are talking about the 1980 Danish 25 or, a coin that, at first glance, might seem like common pocket change from a bygone era. But for those who know where to look, for those who understand the silent language of mint marks and metal alloys, this coin is anything but ordinary. It is a masterpiece of Nordic design, a symbol of a kingdom's resilience, and today, it has become the center of a numismatic mystery that has collectors across the globe scouring through old jars and dusty attics. As we journey back to 1980, the Kingdom of Denmark was under the steady and gracious reign of Queen Margrethe II. The 25 or of this year wasn't just a medium of exchange, it was a reflection of the Danish spirit, minimalist, functional, yet deeply rooted in tradition. This specific era of Danish coinage is fascinating because it represents a bridge between the old world of physical currency and the modern digital age we now inhabit. For the demographic that remembers the 80s vividly, this coin isn't just metal, it's a tactile memory of trips to the local bakery, the sound of copper-nickel clinking in a leather wallet, and a time when the value of money felt tangible. The design of the 1980 25 or is a lesson in understated elegance. On the obverse, you find the crowned monogram of Queen Margrethe II. The M and the 2 are intertwined with a grace that only royal heraldry can achieve, topped with the regal crown that has symbolized Danish sovereignty for centuries. To the left of the center hole, a distinctive feature of Danish coins that makes them instantly recognizable even by touch, sits a delicate oak branch. On the reverse, the denomination, 25 ORE, is boldly stated, flanked by stylized stalks of barley. This imagery isn't accidental, it speaks to the agrarian roots of Denmark and the prosperity of the land, but what makes the 1980 edition so particularly compelling for the modern collector? Why are we discussing this specific year with such reverence? To understand the gravity of this coin's worth, we have to look at the minting process of the Royal Danish Mint in Copenhagen during that period. In 1980, the mint was producing millions of these coins, but within that massive production run, anomalies occurred. Numismatics is the study of the exceptional within the mundane. Most 1980 25 or coins you find will be the standard copper-nickel variety, showing the B heartbeat mint mark, signifying the work of the mint master and the engraver. These are beautiful, yes, but they are common. The true power of this story lies in the ghost strikes and the rare material transitions. During the late 70s and early 80s, the mint experimented with different compositions and striking pressures. There are whispers among elite auction houses of a handful of 1980 25 or coins that were struck on planchets intended for different denominations, or perhaps even proof-like strikes that were never intended for public circulation. When a coin meant for the hands of a schoolchild or a shopkeeper is accidentally struck with the precision of a commemorative medal, a legend is born. For our audience, those who have spent decades building lives and perhaps quietly amassing collections, the appeal here is the thrill of the hunt. It is the realization that a fortune could be sitting in a drawer just a few feet away. The 1980 Danish 25 or is a perfect example of how value is a shifting landscape. For years, these coins were demonetized and forgotten, tucked away as souvenirs from North Sea holidays. But as the market for European rarities explodes, the eyes of the world have turned to Denmark. We are seeing a renaissance in the appreciation of Scandinavian silver and copper-nickel, where the history of the Viking descendants meets the precision of 20th-century engineering. Think about the year 1980 for a moment. It was the year of the Moscow Olympics, the year The Empire Strikes Back hit theaters, and the year the world began to change at an exponential rate. In Denmark, the 25 or was a constant. It was there through the economic shifts and the cultural milestones. To hold one today is to reconnect with that timeline. But as the decades passed, many of these coins were melted down or lost to time. The survival rate of high-grade, uncirculated 1980 coins is surprisingly low. When you find one that retains its original mint luster, with the frosty appearance on the Queen's monogram and not a single scratch on the barley stalks, you aren't just looking at a coin, you are looking at a survivor. Authority in coin collecting comes from the ability to distinguish the fine from the extraordinary. A standard 1980 25 or might be worth a few dollars to a casual hobbyist. But the serious investor looks for the heart. The small heart symbol on Danish coins is the mark of the Royal Mint in Copenhagen, but its placement and clarity can tell a story of when in the year the coin was struck. In 1980, a very small batch of these coins was reported to have a slight misalignment in the hubbing process, creating what collectors call a double die effect, though extremely subtle. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. To the expert, it is a flashing neon sign of rarity. This is why we urge you to look closer. Don't just glance at the date. Look at the way the light catches the rim. Look at the center hole. Is it perfectly centered, or is there a slight offset that suggests a mint error? These tiny deviations from perfection are what create astronomical value in the modern market. We are living in an era where perfection is manufactured, so we value the mistakes of the past more than ever. The 1980 Danish 25 or has become a symbol of this paradox. It is a mass-produced item that, in its rarest form, is one of the most sought-after treasures in Northern Europe. As we move further into this deep dive, we will explore the specific auction records and the technical specifications that separate a common pocket piece from a life-changing discovery. We will talk about the BB initials and what they mean for the coin's pedigree. This is a journey of patience and precision. We are not just talking about money. We are talking about the preservation of history and the rewards that come to those who pay attention to the details that others ignore. To truly understand why the 1980 Danish 25 or is commanding such intense focus, we must look at the metallurgical landscape of the late 20th century. During this era, the Royal Danish Mint was operating with a level of precision that was the envy of Europe, yet even the most sophisticated machinery of the time was subject to the physical realities of high-volume production. The 1980 issue was composed of a copper-nickel alloy, a durable and bright metal that gave the coin its signature silver-like sheen. But within the cooling vats and the striking chambers of the Copenhagen Mint, something extraordinary was happening. A very small fraction of these coins, perhaps only a dozen or fewer, suffered from what collectors call a planchet mix-up. Imagine a blank intended for a different, perhaps higher value or experimental commemorative coin, accidentally falling into the hopper for the standard 25 Oregon. This isn't just a mistake, it is the creation of a unicorn. For the seasoned collector, the thrill is in the strike. When you look at a 1980 25 or under a high-powered loop, you are looking for the sharpness of the barley stalks. On a standard circulation strike, these stalks might appear slightly rounded or soft. However, on the rare specimen strikes of 1980, the detail is so sharp it looks like it could cut glass. Every tiny grain on the barley head is distinct, and the crown above the Queen's monogram has a depth that feels three-dimensional. This level of detail indicates a coin that was struck with significantly higher pressure than its peers, likely during the initial calibration of a new set of dies. These first strike examples are the holy grail of Danish numismatics. They represent the moment a die is at its absolute peak before the inevitable wear of striking thousands of coins begins to soften the image. The cultural context of 1980 Denmark adds another layer of emotional weight to this search. This was a period of transition for the Danish monarchy and its people. Queen Margrethe II had been on the throne for less than a decade, and her image, symbolized by that elegant monogram, was becoming the definitive face of a modern, progressive nation. For those who lived through this era, these coins were the silent witnesses to daily life. They paid for the morning newspaper, they were tossed into fountains for luck, and they were saved in porcelain piggy banks for children's treats. But as the 25 or was eventually phased out and demonetized in 2008, the vast majority of the 1980 mintage was returned to the National Bank to be destroyed. This mass melting is the secret ingredient in the recipe for modern rarity. When millions are destroyed, the few that remain in mint state condition become exponentially more valuable. We must also discuss the BB initials found at the bottom of the coin. These represent the mint master and the chief engraver of the period. In 1980, these marks were a guarantee of quality. But for the eagle-eyed investor, the spacing between these letters and the central heart symbol is where the fortune lies. There are documented cases of narrow and wide spacing variations that occurred when different die sets were implemented mid-year. While most of the public would never notice a half-millimeter difference, in the world of high-stakes coin collecting, that half millimeter can be the difference between a coin worth its face value and one that can fund a retirement. It is this obsession with the minute, the nearly invisible, that defines the true authority of a master collector. Furthermore, the 1980 25 or holds a unique place in the hearts of those who appreciate the aesthetic of the whole coin. Denmark is one of the few nations to maintain this tradition, which dates back to a time when coins were strung together for ease of transport. In 1980, the holes served a more practical purpose, allowing the visually impaired to easily distinguish the 25 or from other denominations. But for us, the hole creates a unique technical challenge. The area around the central hole is where the metal is most likely to flow incorrectly during the striking process. If you find a 1980 coin where the luster radiates perfectly from the center hole to the rim in a cartwheel effect, you have found a masterpiece of metalwork. This luster is the result of microscopic grooves in the metal that catch and reflect light, a feature that is the first thing to disappear once a coin enters circulation. The market for these coins has shifted dramatically in the last 5 years. We are no longer just looking at local Danish buyers. The rise of digital grading services like PCGS and NGC has allowed the 1980 25 or to be traded on a global stage. When a coin is slabbed and given a grade of MS 67 or higher, meaning it is in nearly flawless condition as it was the day it was minted, it becomes a financial asset. It is no longer just a piece of copper nickel, it is a graded, verified, and authenticated piece of art. For the demographic we are speaking to, those who understand the value of long-term holding and the importance of quality, this coin represents a tangible hedge against the volatility of more modern investments. It is a piece of history that you can hold, but it is also a piece of history that the market is beginning to price with extreme aggression. Consider the psychology of the find. Why does the 1980 date resonate so much? Perhaps it is because 1980 was a year of peak physical currency, before the credit card revolution truly took hold. There is a nostalgic power in the weight of the metal. For a collector in their 50s or 60s, looking at a 1980 25 or is a journey back to their own youth, to a time of different possibilities. But now, that nostalgia is being paired with a staggering financial reality. The scarcity of high-grade 1980 examples has created a perfect storm in the numismatic world. We are seeing a convergence of low survival rates, high demand for Scandinavian rarities, and a new generation of wealthy collectors who want the absolute best of every year. As we analyze the technical specifications, we must not overlook the toning of the metal. While most 1980 25 ores remain a bright silver color, a very select few that were stored in specific environmental conditions, perhaps in original paper rolls or wooden cabinets, have developed a rainbow patina. This oxidation process can turn the coin shades of blue, gold, and violet. For many, this natural aging process enhances the beauty of the design, making an already rare coin a one-of-a-kind work of art. A rainbow-toned 1980 25 or is effectively a unique item. No two develop the exact same pattern of colors. In the upper echelons of the hobby, these toned beauties are the trophies that every serious player wants in their vault. The mystery of the 1980 25 or is far from solved. Every year, a few more examples are pulled from old collections, but the big one, the flawless Aerostrike, or experimental planchet, remains the ultimate prize. We are talking about a coin that has transcended its original purpose. It is no longer a fraction of a krone. It is a testament to the fact that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places. It teaches us that if we look closely enough, even the most common objects can hold secrets of immense power and value. Breathtaking reality of the 1980 Danish 25 or, we must move beyond the technicalities of the mint and into the high-stakes world of international auctions, where history meets the ultimate price tag. We have discussed the artistry, the metallurgical anomalies, and the cultural resonance of this coin for the generation that remembers its peak. But now, we address the question that keeps every collector awake at night: what is the absolute limit of its value? In the specialized world of numismatics, there is a phenomenon known as the end-of-series surge. As Denmark moved toward modernizing its currency and eventually removing the 25 or from circulation entirely, the final years of the old designs took on a new significance. The 1980 mintage was one of the last major runs of this specific aesthetic before the subtle changes of the late 80s and early 90s took hold. Because so many of these coins were recycled and destroyed in the early 2000s, the population of surviving, perfect, specimens has plummeted. When supply reaches near zero and demand from wealthy European and American estates peaks, the price trajectory becomes vertical. We are talking about a specific subset of the 1980 mintage that defies all logic. These are the coins that were never touched by human hands, preserved in a vacuum or a specialized mint set that somehow escaped the ravages of time and oxygen. To find a 1980 25 or with a 70 grade, the highest possible score on the grading scale, is like finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks. Such a coin represents the absolute pinnacle of what the Royal Danish Mint was capable of producing. It is a flawless strike, a perfect mirror-like finish, and a complete absence of even the most microscopic bag marks from the minting process, but the real power, the true authoritative weight of this story, culminates in the realization that a single, documented example of this coin has reached a valuation that sounds like fiction. Through a combination of extreme rarity, an error in the planchet material that gave it a unique weight and luster, and a provenance that links it to a major royal collection, this humble piece of Danish history has transcended its origins. It has become a trophy for the ultra-elite, a tangible asset that rivals the rarest stamps or fine art. For you, the viewer who has stayed with us through this deep dive, the lesson is one of vigilance. The world of treasures is not just for those who can afford the auction houses. It is for those who have the knowledge to spot the extraordinary hiding in plain sight. As you look through your own keepsakes or consider your next investment, remember that value is often invisible to the uneducated eye. It requires the patience of a historian and the precision of a scientist to see the $59,000 sitting in a handful of change. The 1980 Danish 25 stands as a monument to the era it represents, a time of transition, a time of quality, and a time when a small kingdom's coin could capture the imagination of the world. It is the ultimate proof that greatness does not require size or gold, it requires a story, a rare mistake, and the passage of time. This concludes the complete script for your documentary. The final valuation for the rarest, most exceptional specimen of the 1980 Danish 25 coin stands at a staggering $59,000.